Penguin Audio presents Coal Run by Tawni O'Dell, read by Daniel Passer. J&P Coal Company, Mine No. 9, March 14th, 1967. A Memory. The day Gertie blew, I watched my father leave for work like I did every morning. It was called morning by the men who worked that shift, but to me it was still night. Black and cold and silent, except for the far-off rumble of the coke ovens as their doors were thrown open and the infernos inside them roared. I could see them clearly from my bedroom window, strung across a distant hillside, the mouths glowing red, then going dark in a steady rhythm like the blinking of 100 fiery eyes watching our valley. I didn't know exactly what it was that woke me. Maybe the squeak of the mattress springs as he got out of bed in the room next door, or his muffled voice along with my mother's as they said their goodbyes, or the sound of his steel-toed safety shoes pacing the kitchen floor while he waited for the coffee to brew. Whatever it was, it had the power to pluck me from my bed and send me stumbling half asleep across the cold, bare floor in my bare feet, where I waited at the window to watch him cross our front yard along with the dozens of other men crossing their front yards, carrying silver lunch pails the size of toolboxes, their mouths already solemnly working the plugs of tobacco they chewed to lubricate their throats against the gritty coal dust. They didn't converge in a sudden stream the way they used to when my mother was my age and watched her father and the other men leave the 3-room, soot-coated houses in the discarded company town a few miles down the railroad line from here. These days they left one at a time, but still together, in a synchronized solitude. I always waved at him when he stopped at the car door and looked up at my window, and he always gave me a nod with a scolding half-smile that said I should be in bed, but what Mom didn't know wouldn't hurt her. It was our secret, one we shared man to man. It wasn't until the last taillight on the last car or pickup truck winked out of sight around the bend in the road that I went back to bed, but never back to sleep. I stopped by my bookshelf that my dad had built out of 2x4s and proudly scanned my small but growing library of alphabet and number books, books about trucks and trains, little golden books and Dr. Seuss books, and a book of Mother Goose nursery rhymes that had belonged to my mother. At the very end of the row was the copy of Wonders of Nature that Santa had left under the tree for me that past Christmas. I took it back to bed with me every morning, along with my flashlight, crawled under my covers, turned to the page about prairie dogs and the diagram of the elaborate underground maze where they lived, and let my mind journey to the place where my dad went every day to do his job. I didn't know that much about it because my dad and the other miners never talked about their work. They only talked about their fear of losing it. What I did know, I had learned from my mother, who explained to me once that he worked underground in tunnels where he dug coal that was very important to everyone. It gave us energy. It made steel to build buildings. Without coal, America would come to a screeching halt. The part about working underground in tunnels made the biggest impact on me, even bigger than the thought of a colossal shriek of brakes heard around the country and everyone and everything ceasing to move until my dad and Grandpa and Uncle Kenny and Val next door and my best buddy Steve's dad and my teacher Miss Finch's boyfriend and Jess Raynor's dad, who everybody called Chimp because one of the other miners once said he'd rather shoot coal with a monkey than be partnered up with Clive Raynor, all went back in the mines and dug some more coal. The tunnels were what bothered me. I knew certain animals lived underground, groundhogs and moles and snakes, but I couldn't picture men down there. The first time I came across the picture of the prairie dog town was the Christmas morning I got the book. I walked over to my dad, who was sitting in his favorite chair smoking a cigarette, drinking a cup of coffee and casting glances I didn't understand at my mother, who was sitting on the couch with her bare legs curled up underneath her bathrobe and a short, shiny pink nightgown Santa had brought for her lying across her lap. He was
Sample complete. Ready to continue?